Hi, welcome to another episode of Small Steps TV. Super glad you're here, especially if you're a person who finds it hard to make decisions. Hands up? Yeah, so I have identified as someone who is very indecisive for a really long time. In fact, probably my whole life. I feel like I kind of put off making decisions and then things were just happening to me. Or, when it came to work, I'd really do the easy stuff and perhaps let the harder decisions that needed to be made just fall back or leave them to someone else, or they'd just sit there waiting for a decision to be made and everything stops. So I wanted to tell you something about making decisions that I've learned really recently and is really, really helping me. What I've learned is that indecisiveness is resistance to ownership and being able to move forward. So there's always a reason why that's happening. And when that's happening, we're often in those overthinking spirals where we're like, if I do this, if I don't do that, what's going to happen if this? I can't make a decision because it's too big. And it's like we just convince ourselves that making a decision is the wrong thing to do, when in fact, most things that haven't happened in my life are because I chose to sit back and not decide anything about them. A friend told me years ago, her auntie said, just make a decision, any decision, it actually doesn't matter. And I hold that to be completely true in my life. But I've layered something else on top of that. I now say to myself, just make a decision within 24 hours. So even if it's a really big thing, I'll need to give myself some time. I actually really don't. Because if you just tap into my intuition or just sit and think and just trust that if it works out, awesome. If it doesn't work out, it's still awesome. I'm still going to learn things. Everything is going to be okay. I need to just tell myself that I'm giving myself time to think. So I give myself 24 hours. I have to make a decision in that time, and that's it. More thinking time doesn't lead to a better decision. Don't you reckon? I've certainly found that to be true. It just means more and more of that spiral and monkey chatter going around in our heads. So I wanted to share this little small step with you today. Number one, just make a decision. Everything is going to be okay. And if it feels uncomfortable, I also absolutely trust these days that if we end up down a path that doesn't feel quite right, that there is so much learning in that helps us grow and get closer to where it is that we want to be or the outcomes that we desire, that making a decision, any decision, is just so important. But on top of that, give yourself 24 hours. Have a deadline for making that decision. And you will find momentum creeping into your life like you have never known, because there is no worse enemy to momentum and creating awesome changes for your life than overthinking and indecisiveness. So they're my two tips. Make a decision, any decision, and give yourself a deadline, 24 hours. I would love to know what you think about this. So drop a comment below and tell me a decision that you've been putting off making, and give yourself a deadline to make it and come back with the answer. Any decision is fine. It really is. See ya.